How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good. Just a little bit of a technical fault.
I thought it was my laptop. I was like, oh my God, this thing's so old that maybe it hasn't got
Oh
a
no,
microphone or
no, no.
something.
It was me. It was me. But how are you? How is everything?
Yeah, good. Apart from burning my face, I was throwing like a big bit of like butter into some oil to like start some curry. It's what my nan did. So I was like, yeah, that's just what you do. Like splash me in the face. I was like, fuck.
Oh
It's all
no.
right. It's all right.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh yeah, but you're fine now. That's the main thing.
Yeah, I'm good now. I was just a bit like, oh my God, there's a massive blister on my face, but no, it's good.
But I just wanted to say thank you so much for agreeing to or to ask to or agree to do this interview. It's like amazing. This podcast is needs people like you to tell your story because obviously we've already touched upon it and you've had some trauma
Yeah,
and you're suffering from PTSD as
yeah,
well and you've also got autism, is that
yeah,
right? Yeah.
that's
So we're
correct.
going to
Yeah.
touch upon all of those points if that's okay
Yeah,
with
yeah,
you.
that's perfect. And I think
um
also like more people need to step forward and speak about their story. Obviously, like on my Instagram, I'm really raw and I'm just like, this is what's going on. If I'm having a meltdown, I'm like, do you know what? Here's the reality of it. Because I can sit there and tell people like, oh, I'm doing the work and life is so good. But if people don't see both sides, they find
yeah,
it hard to relate to it.
yeah, it's
So
true.
I do get a lot of people being like, thank you for speaking out. I don't feel so lonely. Thank you for just talking about your experience. So it's like, and then when I saw your podcast, I was like, do you know what? I'm really feeling to sort of connect
Oh,
and
amazing. I'm
and
so
be on
glad
the
you have.
other side of the microphone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's true because I follow your Instagram as well. When you say you've had a bad day and everything like that, it is so relatable and it's so honest and just refreshing. So I appreciate it. So I'm sure, like you said, everyone else does as well.
Well, I just like we live in a world where people aren't real. There's so much fakery on
Yeah,
social media and stuff like that.
yeah,
And and it makes people feel like shit. And that's the last thing
yeah.
you need when you're already struggling with the world and trying to like decode the world as well. If like your brain comes with a different coding system,
Yeah,
like the last thing you need is like people being like everything is wonderful, things are great,
yeah,
and like you just need people to be real. And
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It's true. But how do you find it being real? Do you find it is it come natural to you or is it a battle?
I mean, for the first couple of months that I was doing it, I'd be really like raw and real, and then I'd like after, and I'd feel good about it, and then I'd start feel like shame over sharing,
Oh,
and like a bit embarrassed, and I'd just delete it. So there'll be loads of stuff that'd be up, and then I'd like delete it.
oh, okay.
But it took a couple of people thanking me for me going like, okay, if I can touch at least one person
Oh,
with my ramblings, then it's worth doing.
it
And
is.
then I started to get over that feeling of shame and started to. I think it's helped me on my healing journey as well,
Yeah,
because you can
yeah.
also look back and reflect where you were and
What
how
are
things
you
have
healing
changed.
from?
So I have complex post-traumatic stress disorder,
Okay,
PTSD.
okay.
So I've been through neglect as a child. I was sexually abused from the age of 5, and then also throughout relationships as I was older, and then also going through like a school system that's not set up for you. Because obviously, girls that are autistic, because we're not stereotypically autistic. Because when you think of autism, you think of men that are like Rain Man or like really good at sciencey brain
Yeah,
stuff. And
yeah.
like I joke with my friend, I'm like, I really wish I had the like super intelligent autism instead of like the everything's overwhelming autism sometimes,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
we like present so different and we deal with things differently, men that are autistic and women that are autistic. So a lot of women don't get diagnosed. So we end up being pushed through a school system that's not suitable for us. We struggle with making friends, connecting with people. Um, so you've just got like all of this, which then obviously affects like your attachment style and how you form relationships as an adult.
so has it affected you as an adult?
Oh, definitely, definitely. But I think it's the thing is, when you're autistic, you can be a bit too trusting because you see everybody from like the good, and it's not until like you can be slow to process things. So it can take me like 3 or 4 months to work out that somebody that's a bit of a dickhead is a bit of a dickhead.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you're like, you start to recognize like the patterns in people after their mask falls off.
Yeah, yeah.
You're like, hold on a minute.
That must have got you into some sticky situations.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. Like at one point I like just thought I was like a toxic man like magnet,
Oh
you
no.
know? And been a lot. But that, oh God, I'm rambling. Sorry. I will ramble, but I can be pulled back.
It's all organic.
um so I think, you know, so there's a link between, I know the word narcissism gets thrown around a lot these days, but I
yeah,
think it's more because people are more aware of it than
yeah,
people are just throwing that label out there.
yeah.
So when you're neurodivergent, narcissists easily attach and attract you because you're so easy to pull in, because you're like, you've got like, somebody described it as like having like the sweet innocence of a child still,
Yeah,
like in there somewhere,
yeah,
where you're like really trusting and open and
yeah.
easily love bombed and easily convinced,
Manipulated as well, really.
manipulate, yeah,
Yeah.
convinced that like the things that you think are wrong. So I had so I discovered the like kink and fetish scene about 5-6 years ago,
Okay.
and this is when I started to do a lot of my healing work.
Okay. And this is
um
you dressing up as different characters. Is that
yeah, so basically I started, I'd found people online talking about like the therapeutic values of BDSM, and
yeah,
I was like interested.
yeah.
And they were talking about how you can take control of your traumas and reenact them, which was something I was not interested in.
Oh
I wasn't. I
my
mean, I've spoken to people that have gone through some really intense stuff,
God.
and then they've arranged a scene with somebody that they trust, and they've sat and they've spoke about it, so they've got complete control. So it's like them taking control of that situation that happened, and helps them move forward and heal from it.
Interesting. I
Yeah,
didn't even, yeah. Wow.
there's
Okay.
so much about it. So I'm big on like normalizing kink and the therapeutic values of it,
Yeah.
because I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of predators and darkness in all scenes, whether you're in a nightclub or a fetish club.
Yeah.
But you know, it's about knowing safety and safe people.
Yeah.
um so it's not all just about let's go out and like have sex in a club and like
No, it's
spank each
quite,
other. It's like so much more than, it's about like freedom of expression and not feeling shame around your body or
yeah.
sexuality. And yeah,
And how
and
does it help you? Like, because you said it helps you with your healing.
so it helped me become more confident in myself. So when I first started out in that community, I was really quiet, but I really enjoyed the sensory aspects of it,
Okay.
because I'm sensory seeking, so I
Okay.
constantly seek like touch. If I'm feeling overstimulated, I'll either have like a cold shower or a hot shower or a bath.
What's the
um
reason for that? Is that because of your autism or?
yeah, it's because it helps calm me down. Yeah, it's
Oh,
because
okay.
with autism you can be quite sensory seeking, so
Okay.
it's such a vast scale, so you're either like really into being touched and squished and things like that, or you can't stand being touched.
Oh, okay.
I swap between the two.
Oh, wow.
So sometimes I can have somebody that I really love just gently stroking my arm, and it
Yeah.
feels like pins being dragged down my arm, like it's painful.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. And I'm still just figuring it out. So I worked with
Aren't we
autistic.
all? We're still all
Yeah,
figuring out.
everyone's just figuring it out, right? I worked with some autistic kids, and then when I did the autism training, I was like, hold on a minute. um, I get overstimulated and have like constant showers. I can struggle with noises and like block my ears and stuff and get like. So I was speaking to one of my friends. This is before I even considered autism. I was like, "What do you mean you don't put earphones on to like block out the lights in the supermarkets?" They're like, that's weird, mate. Have you considered being that you might be autistic? I was like, well, I did think, but like, doesn't a doctor have to tell you? They're like, no, you can tell a doctor that you think you're autistic. I was like, oh. I
Yeah.
was like, they should tell people that. Like,
then with autism?
But I missed that then.
When did you get diagnosed?
So this is one of
Or
those sticky
how?
situations. I've not been diagnosed.
Okay, but
I
you
went
know you've had
through,
it.
so I've done the forms, but the forms are based on stereotypical male autism interests, which is a conversation I've had with my GP. So my GP is autistic, and I
Okay.
did the forms with him, and he
Yeah.
went, "Oh, you scored higher than I thought." He's like, "I knew you were probably autistic, but like wasn't quite sure how much." And then because I was under the mental health team for complex trauma issues, because I had
Okay.
like a bit of a mental breakdown, um, the autism team and the mental health teams, if you're under the mental health team, you can't be under the autism team for diagnosis,
Oh,
even though the two things are very interlinked.
interlinked. Yeah.
So that's why a lot of girls with autism get written off with having, I say written off because that's not the right thing, but they get given a BPD diagnosis instead.
Whoa.
So there's loads of women that even one of my friends, she went to the autism clinic. They diagnosed her with autism, but told her she was better off telling people she had BPD or euphoric personality disorder, I think they call it
Oh
now.
my gosh, that's fascinating.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
like the way we deal with mental health and neurodivergency in this country is, well, I think maybe possibly, I don't know about other places, but I feel like it's like people could be doing a lot better.
But you're saying it from a woman's perspective as
Yeah,
well. So you're saying that it's kind of, is it sexism?
I don't know if it's sexism. I've not thought of it as a like sexism part, but I think it's a lot to do with, I mean, definitely like the patriarchal system that we live in is definitely for years been like women are crazy, women are crazy.
Yeah.
So at any point that we show some sort of like quirkiness or different,
Yeah.
they'll be like, no, it's just craziness.
Yeah. But do
You
you
know what I mean?
find
We
that,
weren't getting orgasms and they called us mental.
yeah, do you do you find it easy as a woman to kind of, because I know that a lot of men find it difficult to speak up about their mental health, but you're quite vocal, aren't you, with
Yeah,
your mental health? So
yeah, I am. So when I was doing the Sunday meltdown jam,
yeah.
it's very much like talking about mental health, music, advocate for mental health, like giving people advice every now and again when I could, to being in a toxic relationship and then trying to unalive myself because I felt so worthless, and I couldn't find a way out of that relationship. Um, I lost it too. So at the time, I was telling people like I feel I feel suicidal. Like I feel like I'm going to kill myself. And nobody really listened. They were like, "It's all right. You've got through it before. You know, you can do this." I'm like, "No, you're not listening to me." I was like, "I'm not saying I feel like I want to kill myself. I'm telling you, I feel suicidal." There's such a
Yeah,
difference in those
yeah,
statements
there is.
because sometimes you can be in so much emotional pain. The only way you can describe it is that you just want to die,
Yeah, yeah,
which is, a feeling that will pass. Like if you've gone through like cycles of like deep depression, you know that there's
yeah,
dark thoughts that are going to pass, and then there's, when it's like high alert.
yeah, yeah,
So after that, with people weren't really listening, and it's to no fault of their own, people just
yeah. It's just sad. You know
they
what I
just
mean?
they thought they were saying the right thing at the right time. They saw me as a really strong person. You've got through
Yeah,
these thoughts and feelings before. No, this is different.
yeah.
um so after that I just really started talking. I mean, lockdown happened. I tried to unalive myself, and then lockdown happened, so I was stuck on my boat for 3 months in London by myself until
Oh my
like I made some lockdown
gosh.
buddies. And that's when the clown was born, because I was on
Oh,
myself on my own
oh
for so long. I was like started getting dressed up in clown stuff and like sitting in the front of my boat with like a gin, waving to people
my
as they drove past. um which really helped because I was so quiet before. Putting on like the mask of Dolly has really helped me talk up more. And people will say to me like, "Oh, what's your clown character? What's your clown like development? Like, who is she?" And I'm like, "Oh no, she's just me. Like, there's no
yeah,
character there. It's
yeah.
just a mask that's given me license to be way more myself."
Oh. managed to find Dolly, did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've managed to find Dolly yourself, but to be able to express yourself in a way that you feel comfortable with and that helps you push yourself out of the margins.
Yeah.
Because you definitely do. I've seen your Instagram and I'm like, wow. Do you all up yourself and everything?
Yeah, I do.
Oh my
It's
God.
taken me, I mean, I can do like one face, but like,
Okay. But how did you train to do it? Did you?
it's just YouTube. I'm just like watching people's clown videos or like TikToks and stuff. I'm like, okay, I can't do that, but I get the idea. As soon
Oh,
as like, and the good thing about like white face paint is like it's really forgiving.
oh okay.
Really forgiving. Although it was funny, I got to like one point where whenever I'd go out, I'd always be Dolly,
Okay.
and then I'd like have my girl face on,
Yeah.
and I'd be like, oh, I don't like this. And I just like started calling it like clown dysmorphia. I was like,
Oh.
I prefer myself as a clown. It's got really weird. So I had to like chill back on putting on the clown face so much. I actually went out this weekend to Torture Gardens in London and was a normal faced person, which was hilarious because it was like going in incognito mode. Because like people didn't
No.
recognize me. I was going up to people like, hey, they were like,
Oh
who are you?
no.
I'm like, it's Dolly. They're like, oh my God. I'm like, shh, don't tell anyone. I've lost your sound.
Oh, can you hear
Oh
me
no, there you
now?
are.
Yeah, it's
Better.
like method acting. Do you know what I
Kinda.
mean? Is it kind of like that? So you kind of like become the character.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool. That is so cool. But do you kind of study anything about around it, or do you just naturally just
I just
immerse yourself into a
naturally
different world?
burst into it. So my stepdad growing up was American, and we went to go visit him in San Francisco, and he's a dentist and a clown.
Yeah.
And I can remember, I must have been like 11. He was showing me his clown shows, which was really cool. He had this like, because he was a dentist, he had all these like chattering teeth off strings, like chasing him around stage and stuff.
Okay.
Then he showed me this other one, which was this woman chasing a baby around the stage, and
Yeah.
like she just couldn't catch it. And I was like, Papa, why? And he said to me, he's like, well, sometimes being a clown is a really good way of processing why you're sad. And I think that like stuck with me because after I started clowning, that like statement came back to me, and I was like, oh, so it's a good way to process trauma, especially like so being in being like a fetish performer has been like a really good way of me taking back power of my body and what I do with it.
Okay.
Um,
I can imagine
which
because
is
of what you've been through.
yeah, when you've had
Taking
people put your body down
Yeah.
and but also take from it,
Yeah.
um, you lose a lot of how you feel about yourself as a
Yeah.
woman.
But now you're regaining your power.
Oh my God, I'm high off my own ass.
Ah!
High off my own ass. Which is nice. It's good. I'm like, you've still got to be humble, but appreciate yourself. Like I stand in the mirror, I'm like, I am a goddess. I am a divine entity. And at first, it felt uncomfortable, though.
Yeah, but I can imagine. But like everything, it takes practice and you
Absolutely.
become better and better at it. You become more and more confident. So that's amazing to
Yeah,
be
and I
able to
think that's
take
the
that
thing.
step.
Like, you can be so impatient with your healing journey because
Yeah,
you're like, right, I'm doing the work. I want
yeah,
now, now,
yeah,
now. Like, why am I not feeling better?
yeah.
But it's all just practice and patience.
And
And that's the last thing you want to hear when you're like in a deep state of like despair. But you just got to care for yourself. You
no,
got
but
to,
that's amazing advice. So for the listeners, if you're in a, like you said, in a deep state of despair, then you just have to take care of yourself, but it has to take time. It's not
yeah.
going to
And
happen
taking
overnight.
care of yourself is one of the hardest things to do when you're down, or if you have problems with like executive function, like getting up and doing
Yeah,
things anyway. Like I
yeah,
will argue with myself for 3 days about the washing up. I'm like, you
yeah.
are an adult. You're washing up. I'm like, no, I'm gonna go for a walk. I'm gonna play a song I'm gonna like practice some suspension. I'm gonna do the washing up. Ah no. And then I'll be like, oh shit, somebody's coming over. Let's do the washing up. So So, looking after yourself, like drinking water and eating healthy is one of the hardest things to do, or looking after your environment. But it's the one thing you should be doing because those are the things that you can actually do for yourself.
Yeah, I love that. Like, I can relate to that because I'm the same. I put things off and stuff like that. But it's like you sharing your experience, I can relate. So I'm sure so many people can relate to it.
Yeah.
But it's so true. If you suffer from executive dysfunction, life can be a lot more challenging.
Yeah.
You just have to keep going and stay positive, and every day, even if you're fighting, you have to get up and just take your time and do it.
So my one rule is, no matter what mood I'm in, no matter how bad the day is, I have to make my bed.
Okay.
I have to make my bed because
Okay.
that's still an act of self-care. That's
Yeah.
preparing your area for sleep later. That's
Yeah.
where you rest. That is your sanctuary.
Yeah.
You should treat it with respect, and then you find that starts spilling over
Oh,
into
yeah.
other things. Like you might start brushing your teeth every day, like drinking more water.
Well, I don't know. I'm gonna try that though. Hide my head in shame.
Oh no, do you know what? It's one of those things like I don't know, not depending on what situation you're in. Not a lot of people see it. Like nobody sees my bedroom. Like I'm like the last relationship traumatized me too much. Nobody is making it in the door, let alone the bedroom for like a long while.
you're you're so explicit with kind of, it comes across really quite sexual, doesn't it? Like
Mm-hmm.
you come across as this really loud sexual person, and then you don't have anyone come home.
No, so I've never had sex in a fetish club.
Okay.
Even when I've gone with a partner.
Okay.
It's so for me, it's all about a cathartic release.
Wow.
So if I'm having an impact scene, which is like spanking or maybe like some floggers and stuff,
Yeah.
it puts you into a state of mind that's meditative. So if you've got a fast and busy brain,
Yeah.
I don't meditate. Like I can't meditate. It
Okay.
doesn't. I can't slow my brain down enough. My brain starts going, "Am I meditating?" Like it just
Okay.
doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
But when I'm having like a spanking scene or when I'm doing my self suspension even,
Yeah.
which is the tie myself up with rope, my head stops, my brain stops because it the so with rope it's the way I describe it, it's like it squishes you back into your body and grounds you. So it's something, even though you're floating, you're also quite grounded as well.
That's really fascinating because like it's interesting because I put up a quote the other day on Instagram that said that I love it when I'm out of my head for a few seconds.
Yeah.
So and you do, and then afterwards you think, oh my gosh, I was out of my head for a few
Yeah.
seconds. So you must feel like you saw it, if that's
Yeah,
the case.
it's beautiful. We did me and my friends did a suspension at the end of the night. One of the guys that's involved in it, he's like, you can use the stage rigging. Come on, you're performing. I was
No.
like, oh, okay. And it was just so nice. And they lifted me right into the ceiling as well, while I was like all bound and like spun me round. And it was just so lovely. But then also you've got people clapping and like you've got like all this support from people, like, well done, you're doing really well. Like this is
Oh my God.
good. And like it's just really lovely.
So
I
you've
think there's
got
a
a
lot
kind
of
of,
validation that comes from performing. Like I've
yeah.
tried different things. I've tried singing. Like, I can sing a little bit, but I'm definitely not a singer.
Oh,
I
okay.
like do a song at a jam night and then like jump off.
Yeah, because you play guitar, don't you?
A little bit, yes.
Oh, okay.
I try. I try. I'm mostly ukulele, but like, yeah, my guitar's sat staring at me like, clean me, change my strings. I've been playing with the uke a lot because I think music therapy is important. And it doesn't matter whether, like, I know a lot of the videos that I put out aren't like, they're not pitch perfect. The time signatures are interesting.
Yeah.
But it's music therapy. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
silly little things. I think you don't have to do, I like that whole like letting go of trying to be a perfectionist through like, because when you've been through trauma, you try to control things in your life.
Yeah.
And like that can come in the form of like perfectionism as well.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I wouldn't do something because I'm like, I've not done it perfect.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So
That
you
makes
just got to
sense.
accept and go
You've
with the
got to
flow
accept.
and do things so
And
they're
the,
fun.
the, the perfection is in the imperfection.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the grit. Do you know what I mean? So, and it makes life more interesting.
Definitely.
So, but do you you strike me as someone then that you've been through trauma, but you're kind of like, and you said it actually when you messaged me, you said that it's survival, like you're
So,
surviving. And you
yeah,
strike me as someone as you're not a quitter in the sense of like you're persevering and you're going towards what makes you heal. And that takes strength. So
yeah.
where do you get that strength from?
I've got an amazing support network of friends. They
Oh,
are like the best.
oh,
Yeah, I have to give my friend Rosie a shout out because she's been on the phone like during the end of my relationship that I was in.
oh yeah.
She was on the phone like every night, like after every argument. Because I check with people, I'm like, is that a normal thing for people to say? She's like, no, people shouldn't speak to you like that. I'm like, okay.
Oh,
Because yeah, because it's like I don't know. I tried to explain to somebody and say I was like, because like clever as I am, there's a lot of things I miss,
yeah.
and going through therapy, I went through a little bit of an unmasking process as well, where I stopped pretending that I know what people are talking about.
Okay.
Because that happens with neurodivergency in therapy. You start
Okay.
to strip back the mask and stuff.
Okay.
So I found my friends, I did therapy as well, but talking therapy can only get you so far.
Okay.
CBT can be really damaging for people that are neurodivergent because it's not mapped out for our brains and
Oh
can make you feel
wow,
like
that's
you're failing.
interesting.
And it's the first thing the NHS give as well. They're like CBT, and you're like, I don't need CBT, I need trauma therapy, thank you. And they're like, well, we don't do that.
Oh my
Oh, so they
God.
don't do anything for childhood trauma. If you've been in a domestically violent relationship, then like actually physically abused, you
Yeah.
get 6 weeks of trauma therapy, and then you're on your on your own. And then it also takes like two years on a waiting list to even get to these therapy that's not right for you before they send you to the right therapy
Oh
or
my
maybe another
gosh. So it's
therapy.
just flawed from the beginning.
Yeah, this is one of the things I ended up counseling the woman that told me they couldn't give me therapy. They're like, really sorry, we can't. I was like, do you know what? It's okay. I know it's not you. Like, they're using COVID as an excuse
Oh
for
my
therapy. They're
gosh. Yeah.
co-funding on services. It's not your fault that they don't do anything for like emotional abuse and things. So I mean, there are some other great services out there. I can't think of at the moment, but I'll message you them and maybe you can
Yeah.
put them up to
Yeah.
people
That would be great.
that do things for more specific trauma that are charities. But even then, like they just haven't got the funding.
That's terrible. That's so bad. Because
Yeah,
obviously they're so more and more, it's getting more and more prevalent. I don't know if it's more and more prevalent. I don't know whether it's, this is a big question, but whether or not it's just more spoken about now.
I think it is more spoken about, but I do think there is definitely a rise in it. I mean, especially with like everything that's going on. Like, if you just think of this country with like the cost of living,
Yeah.
people are struggling to keep their family, and there's a lot of men specifically that are committing suicide because they're struggling to fulfill this stupid role they've been told that they have to fulfill as
Yeah. Yeah.
provider and breadwinner, and
Yeah.
and it's really hard. So I listened to on the way to therapy, I caught the budget, and they were talking about putting X amount into suicide prevention, and they've actually cut it. They've cut the funding.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
terrible.
yeah. So it's just they're not doing anything for it. And even like some of the services, like if anybody is ever feeling low, do not text shout unless you want to feel worse.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was one night, I couldn't get through on the phone, I couldn't get through to my friends, I was panicking because one of the things after like my suicide attempt, anytime I started to feel shaky, I'd start panicking that I might try something like that again, even if I didn't feel suicidal. I would
Yeah.
just start to like panic, panic, panic. So I text shout and they were like, oh, message back tomorrow. The lines are busy.
Oh my
It's like,
God.
whoa. But I guess that just shows how overstretched everything is.
You've given like a whole plethora of information. Like it's absolutely amazing. Just your viewpoint is just exceptional because
Thank you.
given a different you've talked about the sex, not sexism, but women with autism, and now especially the shout, and you've just given a different and with the not seeking, but finding something for you that is your
That work.
release.
Yeah, like I'm not saying everyone that's traumatized should go run into a fetish club and go get beat
No,
by a dom or
no,
so,
you're not.
like
No, no, I
definitely
know you're
not.
not saying that. I
Don't
know you're
do
not
that.
saying that.
I'm not saying that,
But
but
you are
it's nice to
saying to
find something,
find something.
something that works for you, whether that's playing music, doing yoga,
Yeah,
climbing, something that uses up energy.
yeah,
So
yeah.
somebody told me we need to all be more gazelle. When gazelles feel anxious, they jump up and down on the sort of spot to get rid of the adrenaline.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that's why
Okay,
like
I'm gonna
physical
try
things like
that.
running and so I know I'm not just gonna extrapolate. um, that's why things like physical stuff's really good for like mental health because you're getting rid of that excess adrenals that we all have
Yeah,
because we don't use we're meant to we're meant to have small amounts of anxiety for our fight and flight and stuff, but
yeah.
a lot of generalized anxiety, if you even cut trauma out of it, just generalized anxiety comes from the fact that we don't use the adrenal that we're meant to.
Oh,
Like we
okay.
can produce too much.
Oh, okay. That
Be like,
makes
oh.
sense. Oh, that makes sense. See, you're full of facts.
I mean, this is the thing when like you've gone through like I'm 36 now, and I went to the doctors when I was 16. I was like, I'm depressed, and they're
Yeah,
like, no, you're not. I was like, no, I'm depressed. I can't get out of bed some days. I really struggle getting into school. And I was like, my dad suffers from depression. They're like, no, you're just mimicking your dad. If you don't want tablets, you're not depressed. I just didn't want tablets. At
yeah,
16 years old, I did not want to be put on antidepressants.
yeah.
And I've gone my whole life, just different doctor, don't want antidepressants, really depressed, can I have some therapy, waiting list. Self-medicated through like my teens and early 20s with different party things. And then sort of stopped with that because I realized, oh, that stuff's not actually good for my mental health.
Oh,
As much as
yeah,
it like you think you're helping it because you're not feeling like shit, actually,
yeah.
it's not great.
No.
Mainly cannabis. So as much as
Oh,
like I loved smoking, the weed that we get these days, it's no good for people's mental health. There's too much
no.
THC in it and not enough CBD.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why like I watched this talk with a Rasta lady and she's like when I came over to England I couldn't get any like good nice weed. So I
Oh my
didn't smoke.
gosh.
I just didn't smoke until I got back. Right,
Oh my
like
gosh, that's so
because she's
interesting.
like it's bad for you. She's like on a spiritual level, on a mental level. The weed that we get is not the medicine that it should be because we've all
No,
got cannabinoid receptors.
yeah.
And that's why CBD works for us. So it's a
Do
medicine that
you
we're
have
meant to take.
CBD?
I do take CBD,
Okay,
and I found it really good. I do find high levels of CBD help with my executive function.
okay.
So when I first tried it, it was a beautiful moment where I took this CBD thing and I was faffing and I was like, I'm gonna do the washing up, and I just stood up and did it, and I was like, oh my god, I had a thought and I acted on it. This is insane. Um, so yeah, CBD is amazing. And I try and get my granddad to take it as well. I'm like, you want to take that for your arthritis, granddad? He's just what he calls me his little voodoo girl because I'm always like potions and lotions and stuff. He's like, no voodoo girl, you keep your funny stuff. I'm like, no, granddad, it won't get you high. He's like, why would I want it then? I'm like, oh god, it's like,
CBD oil.
CB, I lost the audio a little bit
CBD
then.
oil is becoming more and more popular, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
and it's
I just think people should be really careful where they get it from because so a lot of the stuff that you get
that's
in
the
Holland,
thing.
Holland and Barrett and that, like, is really their stuff. Like, people should research it.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah.
group on Facebook called CBD Brothers, and they operate like a doctor. So you tell them your ailments, and they'll let you know what the best plant to get the CBD from is, and different properties and
Oh,
stuff like that. So it is coming along, and there's CBD dispensaries are starting to come out. So if people want to look into CBD, they should go to like proper dispensaries and talk to people, not
So
just
just do
order.
research. You just
The
got to do
research
research
always.
always. And then you mentioned before as well that you didn't want to have an antidepressant. What's the reason why?
I didn't want to be hooked on something. So I'm on antidepressants now. So when my
Okay.
last relationship,
Yeah.
he convinced me that I was absolutely, for want of a better word, mental. Because that's
Uh,
the word he used.
okay.
And I got to the point where I was so dysregulated now that I was bashing my head off floors, walls, smacking myself in the head. Like I was so overstimulated and confused because
Yeah.
at the time I was like, I my friends tell me I'm a good person, I'm a good person, but this person's telling me that I'm awful and calling me on all these behaviors. And I was so dysregulated and confused that I was like, okay, I'm an awful person. I'm just gonna take antidepressants and maybe they'll help calm everything down in my head and then I can be a better person. Um,
Uh,
took the antidepressants. They calmed everything down in my head. The ones that I took were for PTSD. So they
okay.
normally, and I wasn't going to take them, but I read a review. I looked up peer reviews, and there was this somebody that was like, I have ADHD, autism, and trauma issues, and I don't like medication, but I took this one and I really liked it. And if you relate to any of these symptoms, then I suggest at least trying it. Thank you, science, for giving me the opportunity to heal. I was like, do you know what? If somebody else that's autistic has taken it and given like such a straight up
Okay.
review, I'm going to try it. So I tried it, and it is really good. Like it's helped calm a lot down. Like I'm like you're never going to be perfect, are you? But I'm
No.
able to organize my thoughts a bit better, and
Yeah.
I've got a plan with my doctor to come off of it next spring because
Okay.
this tablet because like my doctor because he's autistic, he we chat through options. He doesn't tell me what he's doing. We chat through options.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody that's a doctor should be autistic and treat their clients like this and
Yeah.
explain things.
Yeah.
Explain that he's like, we can take tablet A, we can take tablets from group A or group B. And then he's like, you could be on this one for 6 months, but that means you'll be coming off it in winter, which isn't a good idea because the lack
Yeah.
of sunshine. He's like, so you come off it next spring. And I was like, okay. And it helped slow my brain down so that I stopped reacting to the abuse. Because abusers will call you the abuser when you're reacting, because it's called reactive abuse when you start shouting back.
Okay.
Um, that's what they like to push you to. So the tablets helped me stop being pushed into reactive abuse and see that, oh, oh no, I see what's going on. I've been here before. I've
Oh my
been in this
gosh.
situation before. So I was able to just, I mean, it took him putting his hand around my throat and not in like a fun, sexy way, like for me to be like, oh, this is like we're done. Like this is not cool.
Whoa. Whoa, that's massive. But you got through it.
Yeah, I got through it, and you know what? It's great because the universe, I believe, rewards you. So I
Oh,
hadn't
I love
performed.
that.
I hadn't performed for 8 months while I was with him, or I did one performance and he gave me shit and started arguments, and then told me it was my fault that I was starting arguments. And like, luckily, my friend, I was staying at hers in London,
Yeah.
and she heard everything. So she was able to say, like, this is the language he used, that this is what he's doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Um, so was able to just I lost the thought again. So I stopped performing for while I was with him.
Yeah.
Um, and I'd literally just started doing good and getting gigs and getting my name out there. So I've kind of had to start over again um, in April. So it wasn't that long ago. Yeah, we broke up a week before Easter.
Okay.
And like literally the week I broke up with him, I'd get a phone call from my mate being like, I've sorted you, put your stuff forward to Torture Garden and they want you to perform. I was like, what? I beg your what? And then the same friend was like, right, I want you in with the Shibari booth experience. So I've just been going out, introducing people to the meditative aspects of Shibari. So just pure rope, no BDSM.
Okay.
Um, which sounds funny if you don't know what Shibari is. It's Japanese rope art. The samurais used to use it to
Okay.
incarcerate prisoners. because the
Okay.
knots were tied on acupuncture points.
Oh,
And then
okay.
it started getting used for like bondage, but also it gets used for like meditation. Like I said, it's a good way to shut your head off.
Okay,
It's like
brilliant.
doing like aerial silks or aerial yoga, just
Yeah,
a little bit more
yeah,
extreme.
yeah. I get that. I get that.
Extreme meditation. No, I forgot the point again. It's
As in, like, you were in an abusive relationship. You were
yes.
you have had a lot of trauma, and you've gone through a lot, as you've expressed. But how are you now, like, in yourself?
I'm good.
Oh,
I'm so good. This is the fourth toxic relationship I've been in, and
whoa. And you
from
explained why before.
connecting
Yeah,
with other connecting with his ex-girlfriend after we broke up.
yeah,
So I put a spoken word out there and she messaged, she's like, oh, this sounds like so and so. I mean, as much as I'd like to be like, I can't do that.
yeah. So can you do the spoken word?
Oh my gosh. Ah. Oh, let me see. No. I could do it and send it and you can like cut it in. I was like, I can't remember it on the spot. One of the best lines is like, so he went from protector to projector, real fucking, that's it. So he came into my life calling himself a protector, saying that he stood strong in his role as divine masculine, and there was a lot of good women who could vouch for him. It's concerning because I've never known anybody that needed references to be a good person. But I didn't blame them because, much like me, they were a slave to his charms in Doctor Fucking Nation. And when I tell you that he went from protector to projector real fucking quick, and that I gaslit myself for him, and those sweet words that dripped out of his mouth like honey soon turned bitter. But I knew better because I've been here before, and this time I wasn't going to be defeated. Yeah, no, that's all we've got. That's jumbled up, but that's some of it. Thank you. I've lost you.
Oh, have you performed that
Oh,
anywhere?
I haven't performed it anywhere. Hopefully there's an art exhibition coming up, and I should be doing a shibari performance there.
Okay.
Where I'm gonna write a load of stuff all over my body in UV. So it'll be like my body, my choice, keep the politicians out of my uterus,
Oh my
all the good shit. And you won't see it until I'm suspended and the UV lights shine on me and I'm like spinning around. But I want to do the spoken word there.
When is that?
That I'm waiting on the date and stuff like that.
But will you advertise it?
Yeah, I'll advertise it. So I'll let
Okay.
you know and yeah, put it
Yeah.
out there.
Okay. Brilliant. All right. Well, thank you so much. Is there any closing words that you want to kind of say to anyone that's been going through trauma or?
Like, I know it's cliche, but you will get through this. And if therapy is not working for you, look into something else. Like, you can't therapize yourself, but you can heal yourself. Or the best way to look at it is recovery. Healing is never ending, but you can recover. You can recover from a bad day. You can recover from a bad month. You can recover from trauma. So I think there's change your internal language, and it helps you so much.
Yeah.
Like,
okay, brilliant. Thank you
thank you for having me.
And I hope your burn gets better. Like you.
Thank you. I know I need to go buy some aloe or something. It's like butter in the pan.
See you. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.